All right, Dave. Well, it's great that you love the machines and everything, but did you know we're a third generation family business and I don't give a shit and it's all about our heritage? What'd you do there?
Show us your shoebox with your granddad in it. Get those
Ashes or pictures? Just there's a femur, there's an eye socket, there's jawbone.
The glass eye, like looking at you.
Have you got any Polaroid?
Oh, I'll give you £3 for that one, £2 for that one. No, things out there. This is what.
Shoebox with your granddad in it.
Hi guys, and welcome to round 2 of Pints and Perspectives with me, Uncle Jack.
And me, Uncle Deryn.
Deryn, tell us where we are today.
Today we are in the Boar and Fable, amazing little bar at the top of my hometown in Bradford.
Right, so before we get into the tasting notes, let's just introduce this fella sat next to us. Now, I've done a few notes about this fella.
Have you done a bit of research?
I've done a little bit of research.
I've done the same.
This is, we'll tell you about the man, the myth, the legend. Right, okay. So, I saw on someone's subreddit a guy called Denzel Wash My Face claiming that Dave Hackney was a stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger in both Terminator 1 and 2.
There's an ancient scroll in the British Museum that claims that Dave single-handedly invented whispering. And before that, people used to just yell quietly.
And if you look in the Guinness Book of World Records on page 43 in the 2006 edition, Dave Hackney holds the world record for the most roast potatoes fit in one person's mouth while singing My Country, 'Tis of Thee in 2006. I mean, let's just get onto that straight away. Dave, how did you do that?
There's more records.
No way,
Right.
no way.
So, according to an interview in GQ, this was around the same time, 2006, I think. Dave, you were actually also another record holder for the longest polite pause before answering a question.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. David Hackney.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How's that for an intro,
It
Dave?
is belting. Best one yet.
Cut all of that out. So, let's go for these beers then, Deryn. Tell me your tasting notes, mate.
This is called Damn Lemon, because it's damn delicious.
Did you get that pint glass just so you can remember what your thing was?
No, but I did turn it round and hope you didn't notice, because I forgot what it was called.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I rumbled
it's
you there.
really nice. It is the epitome of zest, which is also one of mine, and I think Dave's names on the street.
Is it a lager?
It's like a cerveza, so it's a light lager.
Like a Spanish.
It's Spanish,
beer.
but very lemony, and it's delicious. And it's quite weak, so I can have another one and drive.
Very good. Dave, what have you got? Tell us about your pint, mate.
This is called Sour Belt,
Right, okay.
and it is a rainbow fruit concoction. Very sour, very cloudy, and you can feel your gums tingle as it goes in.
Wow. Sure that's not the bleach from the back? Hey.
Blackberry, cherry, mango, gooseberry.
Nice.
And I got this weird sensation of pencil sharpenings as well.
Nice, okay, yeah, cool. I can smell it from here. Yeah.
I'm sure the people at Play Brew Co would love the pencil sharpenings comment as well, so we'll keep that in.
Mine's called Rolling Papers.
Why's that?
It's got a very hazy, smoky, almost drug-like. No, I'm joking now. It's quite a nice light ale, really, quite zesty. Yeah, I could probably drink a few of these. Got no idea how strong it is, so let's see how we get on, I think.
Dave's your lift home.
This is a 6, so I'm not driving.
Oh, Dave is my lift home, is he? No, Dave's not driving. Dave,
I guess I'm your lift home.
Dave's booked a lift home already.
Cheers, everybody, and everyone at home.
So, Dave, it's fucking great to have you here, mate. You know, you're a local legend. As this show works, last time me and Deryn discussed about how we got into the industry. I was a chef, Deryn was working down the pit or something like that, I can't really remember. But tell us, what were you doing before, and this is for people who are trying to get in or, you know, want to know how other people have done it, and a bit more, I guess a bit of inspiration for how somebody went from what you were doing before to what you're doing now. So fill us in.
I shouldn't be in this industry, that's the first thing to say, and I fully intended, when I was at school, to be an architect. That didn't kind of work out, lost interest. I did engineering at college, BTEC, National Diploma in York.
Nice.
Did robotics at university, industrial automation.
You do the robot.
I can do it, yeah. Not. It's a story as old as time. So, robotics, 4-year degree,
Right.
didn't fancy that. Went to Australia, worked for an ad agency in Sydney, and on a weekend, we borrowed the Digibeta cams and the Avid Suite, so we made our own little movies.
What little movies did you make?
There was a film called Bushtastic Adventures.
No.
And it contained the 9 tips of outback survival.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else.
It was like when you said one of those films, the bush film. Like, okay, yeah, cool. So just before we get on, like, so what made you move to Australia? Was it just like
my partner at the time was working as a Jillaroo on a cattle ranch, which is like a
Jillaroo?
Cowboy, cowgirl. Jackaroo, Jillaroo is the Australian name for cowboy on a cattle ranch in the middle of nowhere.
Nice, okay.
And settled in Australia. Got a job at Saatchi & Saatchi, worked in IT.
Oh, big company, Saatchi & Saatchi.
Yeah, and they're really keen on letting you play with the stuff out of hours, cameras and edit suites and stuff.
I really want to see this film now.
So
I've got it on DVD.
Have you? Yeah. I don't have a DVD player.
So did your filmmaking career start out as like an extracurricular extension of your day job? Is that right?
Hobby turned job.
Nice.
But if you trace it right back, there was actually, my dad had a camcorder and I used to make films with a camcorder. Radio-controlled planes mainly.
All right, cool.
Miniature jet engines.
Really?
Nice.
Why don't I know this about you? Why don't you fly a drone?
Well, you haven't had me on yet, so...
Okay, why don't you fly a drone if you fly jet engines?
I used to fly a drone, but then the ever-changing legality and insurance and everything just really started to weigh ahead on my soul.
Yeah, definitely got a bit.
You've got to be into your admin if you want to fly a drone nowadays.
I tell you what though, this isn't an advert, and if you do want to sponsor us, you can do. Drone Desk is the best thing you'll ever buy. Honestly, it's like, basically, when I started doing it, it was a nightmare to do all the stuff. But then it was, it's like £15 a month, but you type all your data and it gives you the whole RAMS document. And you just got to put, right, okay, there might be some birds there, right, okay, put this in. There might be a train, right. It basically does it all for you. You've just got to do the ones that you see with your eyes when you turn up.
We'll put a link at the bottom because that was sponsored by the Squeaky Door Company. Oh, yeah. For a minute.
Yeah, WD-40 sponsoring the shit, yeah. Cool, okay, cool. I didn't know. So you ex-droneman then, eh?
Wow.
Cool.
Well, yeah, early days, but yeah, legal.
So why do you say that you shouldn't be in the industry? Obviously, you enjoyed making the films, and you then eventually came into the industry. Why do you think you shouldn't be here? Because you're clearly a good filmmaker. If you got a job though, and you like.
You've survived.
Let's be honest, let's give Dave a proper introduction. Let's be honest, Dave does a lot of work and he's ringing all the time, he's always busy and he's always like, so much on, but he smashes it. And like, how can you, I find it hard, is it like a confidence thing where you're saying like, I shouldn't be in the industry, where you're absolutely killing it? You're like a one-man agency running, you're not exactly short of work.
I think actually it is my agency background that I've got to thank for the connections that I've got, because it's like my own little LinkedIn. Because of everyone I worked with in agencies who then set up their own business, jumped client side, moved to another agency, and running it that way.
As well, yeah, I the same as well, mate. Pretty much.
That helps, doesn't it? Having an already established network of people who know you and trust you to do certain tasks.
Yeah, but then obviously, how long have you been going for now, Dave?
9.3 years.
9.3 years. Okay.
Do you know what I found interesting about you, Dave, is that although you worked at Saatchi & Saatchi, admittedly in a non-film role, why don't you trade off that? Because that would probably be the first thing I would tell everyone I ever met.
I must have mentioned it 5 times in this interview already, haven't I?
Yeah, I mean, I've known you 2 years, and I don't even know who you were. I thought you worked in a bank or something.
Yeah. Dark horse. But yeah, surely is that not your opening gambit for any conversation, like, by the way? I used to work at
I've been accused of using it too much, so now I've backed off a little bit from it.
Yeah. Is that when they find out you're just in IT?
Yeah. Don't have the same gravitas, does it? No joke. When I was working at Saatchi Sydney, right, loads of creatives up a floor. Quite often, the support phone would ring. Someone in a panic. Yeah. They'd be stuck on like level 7 of Call of Duty. And I'd have to go up and say, no, you need your rocket launcher for that, from that position there. Otherwise, you're never going to get through. And that honest to God, that happens.
That's not a bit. That's real.
That's real.
That's real. Wow. You were the.
Why did you leave?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. That's wild.
Late at night, the LAN, we had massive LAN games, so everyone had a reasonable PC or a Mac. Right. Everyone was doing Call of Duty, massive co-op missions, but everyone was in their own offices with the doors shut, beer fridge. It was a good time.
Wow. That's class, mate. What are you doing back in Huddersfield? Like,
Well, circumstances brought me back, but but I worked in agencies over in the UK since then.
At what point did you see your kind of moonlighting filmmaking hobby on the side turning into something that you want to pursue as a job?
When I started at an agency, which was Gratapan in Leeds, which later became Creative Race, that's been there, forever. Gordon and Gareth, Robert, directors of it at that time. And two industry legends, Pete Camponi, Rick Ward, that are still around to this day, they came in as joint creative directors, and they sort of encouraged the agency and me to set up a internal video production unit with an edit suite based on Final Cut. We had a Sony XL2, the Danny Boyle 28 days later camera, mini DV tape, then a Sony EX3, all that kind of stuff. So we had our own little edit suite, proper client monitor, desk, all the kit. So I was still technically IT manager, but they had this offering that any client could come in and, for some jobs like DFS or other things, we could turn stuff around internally.
Man, client edits, man, so going back to when me and Deryn were back at the mill days when we first started out, we had this suite. It was like they had the old chairs out of the Rex, and they were like these big red velvet cinema chairs, weren't they?
The Rex was a...
Oh, so the Rex is
like
like
the Century Cinema.
It's still there. It's like, it's got the red old velvet seats, and it's got like an old man who gives you some popcorn and,
Dave.
that sort of stuff. No, not Dave. No, that's my Dave impression. Popcorn. No, I don't know, but like they had them in there, and it was like a big screen, and the clients sit there, and that's the thing of the past, really. Like
client edit,
man. Or is it? Maybe I just don't seem to do it anymore. It's just
this
Vimeo,
morning I was on a web chat with Frame.io open on a tab.
I was going to say Frame.io, Vimeo review.
Did COVID kill the whole
client edit
together
thing? Yeah. I think people just got busier because in mine and Jack's days at the mill, it was a day off for some people, right?
Yeah. Get out of the office, get some popcorn.
I'm going to tell everyone at the head office that I'm going to be in a meeting all day. I'm going to spend an hour on the M62 and I'm going to sit and get fed and wine.
Nice lunch, bowl of sweets.
Review a film, make 4 amends and spin it out until 5:30 and then that's it.
3:30.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. So what would you say to somebody who's kind of like wanting to get into this? Obviously you kind of... Did you feel like you were forced an opportunity, or you wanted to take that, or was it just like, I'm just going to do it? Like, do you know what I mean?
They got a sense that I was passionate about it. So any good company that has employees should always try and foster that enthusiasm, shouldn't they? They should never suppress it. If someone's got a desire or a talent or an interest, push them in that direction, because that's quite progressive thinking, I guess, for a company.
Yeah, definitely.
It worked out really well. After I was there 10 years, and then I left. And I set up on my own, and on the day I left, I thought, what am I going to do?
So you did 10 years there doing the video stuff?
Not all, no, it was like IT, and then maybe the last 3 years was digital insight, video, experiential stuff in stores, VR, mobile apps, audience, facial detection.
Right, okay.
Anonymous audience analytics.
Quite techie then.
It's got a stupid name.
Well, that's it. That's the next question. So it leads on to... I don't think it's a stupid name. So the tattoo on your arm's a bit stupid, but apart from that, the digital Cortex. So tell us about the digital Cortex.
Do you know what a Cortex is?
I imagine it spins. I've played Crash Bandicoot, and that's a spinning thing, and they go through a hole. So I guess it's like a spinning... I don't know.
I thought it was the base of your spine and the thing that connects your brain to the rest of your body.
Kind of. So you got
a spleen. The digital spleen.
Now that was a close second.
Was it close?
Yeah. But company's house already had it registered, so I couldn't touch it. I was advised to stay away from that. A cortex. So you've got your visual cortex, which is how your brain talks to your eyes. You got your occipital cortex. You got another one I can't remember that begins with C. Cerebellum.
Cerebellum, right.
Cerebellum cortex.
I like how he looks at me, like I know it, because I'm the clever one in the group.
So, the company's called the Digital Cortex because it was set up to figure out how the human eye and the human brain absorbed digital stimulus, because all of us are bombarded with digital messaging, aren't we?
Yeah.
Ads of every kind, every sense is overwhelmed. So it was about measuring the effectiveness of content, including video.
I guess it encapsulates all of it as well, doesn't it, I think?
So was the digital Cortex founded on just that side relating to video, or did it tap into the experiential and all the other different types of things that you did at Creative Race?
Initially, it was fully experiential stuff in stores. So we could measure how many, using computer vision, sensors, and a handful of really clever pieces of software, we could work out how fast people were walking past your shop, how many of those looked at your shop window as they went past, how many of them slowed down a little bit to engage, looked at your screen or your sign in your window, how many walked in, how many sat there, how many sat there, how many looked at that poster, how many looked at that screen.
And what year were this? Because I'd be surprised to find that was going on now, but maybe I'm a bit naive.
It's very expensive.
Right, okay.
You go in, you present to a client, a customer, and you blow their minds that you're giving them the same vocabulary that a web dev gives them. You know, bounce rate, dwell time, search, organic search, these different things, they applied to a bricks and mortar estate.
So did you analyse the data and give them the data, or was it just raw data you gave them?
No, completely analysed with a full dashboard and graph saying, you've got 62% more women coming in your shop on a Wednesday. We don't know why at this point, but surely that can be capitalised. So you'd have a female-centric playlist on the window, as opposed to a male-centric playlist on a Wednesday.
That sounds like some Dragon's Den shit. You know what I mean? Like, you'd pitch that Dragon's Den and like, what happened, Dave? Like, you know, did you just get bored of doing that? Or did you
I got bored of doing that, but it's also quite expensive, and I got sick of having meetings and everyone going, oh my God, this is like the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And then it'd go quiet because it was too big for them to comprehend. And then about 2 years later, on average, because I calculated it, on average, 2 years later, you get a phone call going, oh, we're launching Project Alpha. I can't tell you too much about it, but can you come back in and do that same presentation again?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it would happen. But
so it's got a bit of a lead time then. I mean, if you carried on, you could have sat through meetings for a long time.
Every now and again, I still sort of talk to people in that world, but video is the passion.
So did you start pushing video to plug that gap where that side of the business was quieting down, or was that always where your passion was at, or how did you change?
I wouldn't say plug it, just some people rang me up and go, Dave, you do video, don't you? And I go, I do. So it was just like, so one guy, right, I'm going to name check him here, Andy Keir from Clockwork, Creative Technology. Great guy. Mac Repair Centre in Armley.
Right, okay.
FileMaker solution expert for any sort of bespoke pieces of software, made software for everyone, including the police and stuff, really interesting. He once said to me, he said, follow the money, sod the business plan, follow the money, follow the money. He said, where you think you're going, imagine it as a straight line. Yeah. You're here now, you want to be there, you've got no chance really. If you start to drift off, some people say, no, I'm ignoring that because I can see my destination. And he was saying, bullshit, follow the money. And that is one of two pieces of advice that I got setting up my business. And I've always thought of that because as your business evolves and mutates and you meet new people and you tap into other markets, a market you would never even dream existed, and suddenly you're an expert now in that market and everyone knows you and you build a niche. I think that's a top tip.
That is a top tip, but at the same time, I'm thinking here going, for somebody who's watching who's just starting out or anything like that, for me, when does it become like, I want to do certain things, right, that I don't really do at the moment. You know, be more creative and more DOP sort of stuff, like all that sort of stuff, but there's certain stuff that I'm just really good at, and and it's not follow the money, but there's still, if you wanted to do something, you can do it. Would you not agree with that as well? Like
100%, and quite often the passion projects, and you know, I'm looking to this guy on my right, sometimes the right client for the brilliant idea that you've got doesn't necessarily exist. That shouldn't stop you from absolutely exploring that idea and totally. Making it and getting it done.
So you still, you know, follow the money, but also have passion projects. I mean, how important do you think passion projects are? Because it's one thing that I've been knocking on for doing for ages and never get around to, which is a pain in the ass, really.
I think, right, you know, like in my world, right, we used to work with massive retail clients, and the work is quite repetitive, quite mundane. And that building, these agencies, I work for nearly every agency in Leeds at some point. All of them are full of creatives who are very talented but incredibly frustrated with the blinkers that they've got to have on to work on that client, that count within those brand guidelines. Every one of them, virtually, always has an external outlet, be it music, screen printing, jewellery. The creativity burns inside them, and it'll drive you mad if you just keep doing Asda web banners. That's going to kill you.
Some of my best work were the machines that they had in Asda, where you went to wear your veg and had to go to a farm. And I'll tell you this one story. So I did this thing. It were like the machines in Asda, and it was like the farmers in the field. Anyway, this guy's digging up potatoes, whatever. Anyway, rock up to this place. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. Oh, this guy had a hook for a hand, right? I was like, oh, fair enough, nice to meet you. And I got chatting to him, a lovely bloke. And he basically lost his arm. He was a sailor and he lost his arm in a sailing accident. But that's, anyway, so he's like, oh, just the potato field's down here. So I'm sat, he goes, just jump in the back of the pickup truck, like in the actual bed of the pickup truck, not in the car, because the producer sat in the car with him, I'm sat in back. Look through window. This guy is on his phone, right, with no hand on the steering, driving with his knees, because he can't obviously move the gear stick with his hand. So there's me going to it, like, he's driving down this road with his knees, bloody about 30, 40 mile per hour, like, fucking hell, man.
What was he doing with the hook?
Well, he's up just on this side, so he had his phone in this hand, but not rather than just putting his ear, he had it like this, driving with his knees, with his hook just here, dangling like, fucking hell, man.
Find better uses for that hook. I've got an Asda fruit and veg story.
Go on, then.
We do time to time deviate on just stories, just funny shoots. So we were doing a shoot. I won't name the farm, but there's a carrot farm on the edge.
I know what you mean.
On the edge of Wakefield. So I don't know if it's still there, but Wakefield had some enormous power plant cooling towers somewhere next to the M62. Is that right?
Yeah.
So we were filming Ferry Bridge power plant. So basically, we were filming these fresh carrots just getting kind of like lifted out of the ground. Now, they'd bedded the carrots down in straw to protect them through winter, but all the heat was trapped inside. So as he dug the pitchfork in to lift the carrot, steam would just bellow out of these like just steaming, smoking carrots. And the guy was insistent. He went, "What are you pointing your camera there for, lad?" Why? He goes, "Power station that way." I'm like, "Yeah, all right." It goes, it's the bloody landmark of Wakefield, that. Get it in your shot. So, all right, okay. So I got this shot of power plant stacks just fuming away, and then these carrots just, as the carrots get lifted out, the carrots are literally like smoking, fizzing, and like just
like
white
some sort of
smoke.
Simpsons thing with a three-eyed fish.
Radioactive carrot, three-eyed carrot getting thrown in the stream. Oh yeah, it's a weird one. But sorry, Dave. Back to where were we?
So we'll go into this next day then. So tell us what sort of stuff have you found that you're doing nowadays? We've heard a little bit about what you've done. So tell me, what's your bread and butter?
Bread and butter is corporate work, but documentary-based corporate work. And in some ways, and you two can probably relate to this, sometimes you get a client that on paper sounds boring and tedious, but it's your job to find a more interesting way of telling that story. Every person, every business owner, every staff member in any company has another facet to them that needs teasing out. And it might even be a machine. It might be a process. It might be a new product. It might be some initiative that they're kicking off next year. The stories are there. You just need to shoot them,
And find them, yeah.
edit them, and present them in a way that actually the layman goes, on paper that sounds boring, but it's not. And suddenly you've got a hook and you're listening to it.
It's not until you actually start interviewing these people you actually find the hook, don't you? Sometimes as well, like you think, oh, that's gonna be really boring. Actually, oh no, this guy's like, no, I've worked here, but I've seen this, and this, and you're like, it deviates from the story, but also you're telling the story. Well, actually, there's a lot of heritage in what they're saying as well. It's like the shoot we did the other day. There was some machines there that were made in 1805.
Okay.
And they're still running them, and basically still in use. They've been converted to electric. They're still in use, aren't they, Dave? I don't know how much we can talk about this. Tell me if I'm overstepping my mark.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, and they're like basically a carpet manufacturer, and they've got stuff in. Where was it? The White House. And
prestigious royal palaces all over the world, and really important state buildings.
Wow, where are they made, these?
So they were like, obviously they're in Yorkshire. They're in they're like Halifax, West Yorkshire, it's not Halifax-ish area. But man, but they was chatting to the guy, and he's like, well, I've got loads of these machines in the back where I'll take a part off here and put it on this machine because the rest of it works, but this one part don't work. And
yeah, like donor machines.
Yeah, but they're running out of donors and stuff, and they're like, right, well, how do we? He was saying that once all these parts are gone, pretty much not going to be able to use these machines anymore. But they're still, and it was fascinating, wasn't it? And I thought, well,
some bits of wood, some bits of leather, some bits of metal.
They can't get the leather to the same grade they did 200 years ago, so they're having to use different belts. And when Dave told me about the job, I thought, oh well. It's, carpet manufacturer. Got there, fucking blew my mind. When I'm like, oh, this guy's been here. I said, what? This guy was 60, right? I said, what happens when you die then? And how do you pass knowledge on? Do you know what I mean, though? When you leave, it's going to take more than 10 minutes to pass your knowledge on. Because he was like doing this and that. I'm like, fucking hell, man. Do you just press a button and carpet comes out? No, it's like, twank this, do this, pull this.
Where are these carpets going?
They were like the White House, the Putin's palace.
Royal palaces of Europe and stately homes and the heritage market, that type of thing.
Yeah.
My porch needs doing. Do you think they'll sort it out?
They probably will do. They've probably got some offcuts somewhere.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But that thing like you're saying about passing on knowledge and stuff like that, they've obviously got an apprentice program.
Right.
And that's true for any business, isn't it? About you try and recruit younger people into your business and hope they're going to stay long enough to both learn from you, but then add value to you. And working with freelancers, it's often a nightmare to find people you trust to build a team.
So talk us through the way your business works. Obviously, you're an agency, you do big clients. Did you start as like a freelancer on your own then and start bringing people in afterwards, or was it always hit the ground running? I know this bloke, bring him in as well, or?
I set up the Digital Cortex Limited, so I was a VAT-registered one-man band limited company. So that is an entity. And I didn't know whether I was going to do video, audience measurement, IT consultancy. I did a bit of everything. I figured I could sell my time, and that was it. That was my only business plan. Sell my time to someone that might find value in my time, but don't specify what it was. And that's when the Andy Keir tip came in, that the video became the real growth thing all of a sudden and built a reputation.
Right, okay, so the video was the money chaser, right, okay.
Whilst we're on Andy Keir, you mentioned he had 2 bits of advice earlier. What was the other one?
Sorry, the other piece of advice was someone else whose name I've forgotten. But
Make one up, go on.
I met him at a hotel in Bradford, a really old hotel in Bradford. What's it called?
Midland.
Yes, Midland Hotel. Met him in there. I can't remember his name. Someone said, you need to have a chat with this guy. And he said to me, never be embarrassed about asking for your money. Meaning,
that's a good one,
basically, if you've never run your own business before, the one thing you haven't realised yet is hardly anyone's going to pay you on time, and you're going to spend half your life trying to get what's rightfully yours. And he said, never feel embarrassed about asking for it and chasing mercilessly, because without it, you're going to go bust in 10 minutes. That was his advice.
I'm a pretty of a hardball when it comes to getting money out of people. Cause
tell me about it. I get 5 emails from Jack every invoice.
Yeah, they're all because you're always fucking late, Dave. That's why.
I've heard that Jack actually sets an alarm when the 30 days are up.
I've got a thing on my QuickBooks does it now. Off you go. Send an email 5 days before, 3 days before, an hour before. I'm going to kill you. Send bailiffs round.
We use QuickBooks for automated things, and then you realise, and then I chase somebody 3 months later and go, you never paid that bill, and they went, who's it addressed to? And I'm like, oh, Linda Jones. They're like, oh, Linda Jones, she quit like 2 months ago. That's why your invoice is overdue. And I'm like, all right. So all my rah automated reminders have been going to nobody because it's like a dead inbox.
I've often meant to ask Jack how he does this in QuickBooks, but if one of Jack's invoices goes to 31 days, all 4 tyres on my car go flat.
Yeah, with the knife holes in. I don't know. I just drove past.
And it's weird how the follow-up emails done in like, cut out newspaper clippings as well. Yeah. I had a finger in my last one, like a severed finger. It was weird, man.
It was Jake, that's what you got. I've only had to do one client where it's just like, I won't go into it, but they were just an absolute pain in the fucking arse, man. Go into it, like so.
Where's the perspective, man?
Okay, let's have a pint. And we'll get onto the perspective.
We got any leeches for this?
So before we get back to the story, let's see what we've got, Dave. What we got? Oh, you took a picture of it. That's handy.
This is you.
This is me. So I've got the French Martini Cocktail Sour by Vocation Brewery. They're usually shit out of Vocation. They're really good beers, so I'm just hoping this is good. Otherwise, I'll have to pretend to smile if I don't like it. Okay. Wow, that's fucking amazing. It's like you get hit with like, because I've just been drinking like a bitter. It's like proper grape, but like actual juice. Like somebody just squeezed a little grapefruit in my mouth, but then like also like marshmallowy sort of milkshake. Fuck no, it's like a milkshake.
It looks nice, like visually it looks nice.
I'm sorry, you wanted that, didn't you? It was fucking tasty. Give it a go. Go on, have a gobful.
I'll go virgin on mine.
Okay. No, of course, yeah. Go on, Dave. What you got?
This is the Sierra Nevada Brewery Celebration Fresh Hop IPA, which looks pretty standard, doesn't it?
You've got no notes on it. You can't cheat this.
I know,
time.
I can't cheat. So this,
Tell me.
I'm raw dogging the flavours.
Raw dogging.
Nice, Dave.
I didn't know that was going to be so funny.
It's funny.
You just shower there, didn't you?
Sorry.
So,
Hang on.
about that. I mean, I got a taste of it also. It's
Is it
nice.
Darren? All right.
It's nice, mate, yeah.
I've literally got no words.
Do you mean
I've
it's
tasted it 3
unremarkable?
times. No, it's not unremarkable. I quite like it, but I can't relate any of the flavours to any of the words in my vocabulary.
Wow.
Wow.
And you've got the biggest vocabulary out of the guy I know.
I tell you what, look, you crack on with yours.
Distraction tactic. I'll
Come
do mine.
back to
Right,
mine
right.
because I need a second opinion on that.
So, from Sierra Nevada, is that place? Back,
Oh, that's a Vocation one, mate. Yeah,
back
nice.
to Hebden Bridge. So, this is another Vocation beer. This is called Silent Night. It's a milk chocolate stout. It looks pretty strong. It was strong on the wallet as well. So
10%, Des.
yeah,
fuck
I
me.
know, right? I do have words in my vocabulary to describe that. That is a lovely, smooth, but not too complicated stout. Actually, a bit lighter than most, which is mad to say it's 10%.
It doesn't look like.
Doesn't look or taste 10% either.
Can I have a
Other than the
gobful,
curdling on the top, you'd never know that was.
Have a gobful of that. This is magic, man. Honestly. I'm waiting for Dave to get his review in, but...
Wow. What's going on here?
That's good.
Yeah, boy.
I had to shave my beard off for all the beer going on with my face. Proper baby face going on. Go on, Dave.
That's my kind of beer.
Is it?
I would
Hands off.
smash that. In fact,
Go get
that's
another
like
one. Go
that's
get
like
another
some cans that I bought from that place in Halifax. What's that newsagents that's got an incredible selection of cans? It was in the Guardian newspaper, a review about it.
News agency.
Yeah,
But it's just a beer shop.
I bought something not dissimilar to that.
one. Fucking hell, man. That's just like... It scrapes all the shit off your body. Come on, Dave.
That's like a cheeky dandelion and burdock. I want some fish and chips when I taste it.
With extra cheek. That is very light and very drinkable for something that savage.
It's a lack of pork pies now, isn't there?
Yeah.
Go on,
Just
Dave.
on it, you have a taste of that because I don't know the words for that. I acknowledge the flavour, but I can't translate it into, like you said, grapes, or you said licorice, or you said whatever.
If John Smith's had a bit of life to it, that'd be
It's
that.
bitter. It's hoppy, but bitter in a sense that, like, John Smith.
It reminded me of like an old school beer that you might get a long time ago.
Smooth, bitter, and
Yeah,
amber
it
like.
tastes a bit like Special Brew, but like Special Brew when it was good.
Which is a tagline that not many people use.
Well, Special Brew
I'm
used to
sure
like.
Sierra Nevada will be pleased with that review.
Well, they'll have to find. These are local. We've got to be nice to these guys. They'll sponsor.
Both of those two are
Our
gorgeous.
Vocation's mint, though, innit?
That's banging, that mate. We need to do this on a Saturday. I keep saying we need to do this on a Saturday one day and just get a piss. But right, back to where we were. Go on, use a word in your vocabulary. You can do it, Dave. You won't offend anybody.
Beer.
What's the cortex that links your tongue to your brain?
That's broken it. I don't have one.
I can't tell if this is good or bad.
I don't know, it just reminds me of like going
These
back
two
in
are
time.
these two are so far out that that's just like, yeah.
That's just like uber bland.
For people who are just listening, sorry, Deryn has like a dark black sort of like Guinnessy coloured beer. Dave has like your obvious speckled hen style beer.
And speckled hen.
Mine's like a peachy pinky colour that is blending into the table as we speak.
I can't tell if that's blended into the table or if this is just really strong.
Yeah.
It's a lovely
Who
shade.
said that?
Pints and what? So up until recently, you were networking and you still do local business.
We go to the same one on a different day. We did where Jack was.
And how does that work?
In what sense? Like there's two types of networking. So putting my teacher head on for people who want to get into the networking is great. I mean, I started doing. Obviously, we'll talk about Dave's network. We can't do it without plugging this at some point. But there's one called a New Monday, and I go there, and for me, it was like as a freelancer, everyone's in the same room, and it's more just about chatting to people, getting to know them, and we all have the same problems. You know, like, oh, this client's not paying me. Oh, I'm knackered. Whatever. But our problems are all the same, and it was more like for somebody who doesn't work with a team, it's like this is my team, and I can go and vent. Whereas the other one was like small business networking, which is great, and it was good just to see. What I got out of the networking was I got a couple of jobs and I probably broke even, which means I didn't really make any money. But, you know, I got enough jobs, but I met people and I learned from their experiences. And they were like, there's certain things about, you know, accounting that I never knew, where I can claim this, this and this. And by doing that, I saved money, which earned me money in the long run. So there's different things like, you know.
So you're not networking with the promise of getting new business, you're actually networking for a network, for support.
Yeah, the idea originally was to get more work. And I did get work coming in and people still use me. But it was more, I found after a while that no, it's not just, that's just the way this networking group works. Different ones will be like, you need to get a referral every week. Whereas this one's, well, no, it's more relaxed. Nice. But you learn from each other and people are more willing to lend you their skill set. Like mortgage brokers like, no, look, I'll help you out. Accountants like, you know, you can do this, this and this if you want. And, you know, I thought, well, actually my accountant's not doing it right. This sort of stuff, you know what I mean? You kind of, I guess you might have the same experience. Obviously, you get a bit of work, but 100%, you must learn from people.
You can be in a bit of a silo yourself, can't you? As a one-person band, even though you might sometimes have freelancers and stuff. But you're right. There's a social component which I didn't realise, a business social component which I didn't realise I needed. Yeah. But when you meet these people. You go out on a barbecue or a night out, it is you were at the Christmas party.
Me and Dave had the best Christmas night out. We ended up, it was a great party, and we ended up at somebody else's party upstairs because they had a band on, and it was fucking amazing, man. I'd never drunk so much tequila in my life, man. Yeah, but it was a good do, you know what I mean? It was just but it was social, you met people. Because there's several different networking groups in this one group. You meet, you
different days.
Yeah, also it's a get together from all the different regions, right?
It was great.
We crossed the streams in the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and it's really cool to meet other people
Nice.
But just to reiterate what you said, you know these different professionals. One is a solicitor, one is an accountant, you know, one is a gas fitter, you know, one is a graphic designer. And it's not about necessarily working with them and getting work from them, is it? No. It's who they know. And it's that spider diagram. Yeah. And I think to anyone listening to this podcast who wants to get into it, there is no substitute for making a good impression on an individual, because then they can refer you. But you don't want to refer someone you don't trust or you don't know, because that backfires and you burn up your own personal credentials, don't you? You need to. If I say you want to talk to Deryn, I need to know that Deryn's an absolute legend, and he's not going to mess up, which reflects badly on me.
Yeah. I mean, if I wasn't, you know, moving elsewhere, which I'll come on to in the next episode, whatever, I'd be there, because it's just I had somebody do, you know, solicitor, look at some documents for me. She was like, look, don't worry, I'll do it for nothing. Nice. Because it was 5 minutes of her time, whereas if I had to go through all the proper things, it was do this, do it.
Yeah, it'd cost me for an hour.
It'd cost me 500 quid, you know what I mean? So, you know, all they did was yeah, that's right. That was it. They read the document, that makes sense. But that would have cost me 500 quid. It's that sort of things that's invaluable, really.
Yeah, definitely.
That brings me nicely on to Dave. If you remember, which you forgot a second ago.
Dave's checking his watch.
He's checking his watch. He's like, I want to go home now. We're not up for time, is it? You want to fucking go home now?
So uncomfortable sat between these two knobheads.
Yeah, tell us about Squarelands Alliance, which is one that you run, actually. How does that, and how do people get involved, and who's it for? So many questions.
So we work in the north. a lot of video work is in the south. That's just a reality, isn't it? And there's a lot of incredibly talented people in the north, and we came up with this idea of a Northern Alliance, Square Lens Alliance, and Deryn is one of the founders with myself.
Did you know that?
Why don't we tell you that last week? Because Dave was coming. That's how
we saved that.
Yeah. Save for Dave.
There's Alexi Lobato from Flying Duck in Hebden Bridge, and Dawn Feather, Yorkshire edit, broadcast editor.
So they work together. Is it Feather and Duck? That'd be a good name actually.
Nice.
Feather and Duck. I'd buy from Feather and Duck. It's more like a furniture company, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'd rather get my cushions from Feather.
Yeah, Feather and Duck.
But so Elixir runs like highly progressive, would you say, animation studio.
Right.
They do everything from Netflix title sequences through to animations for more grassroots organisations or
Stop motion, things
stop
like that.
motion, everything. It's a real wide gamut of work that they do there. And Dawn, she's been around for ages, hasn't she? That sounds
awful.
Dawn doesn't look like she's been around for ages because she looks incredibly young. And that's a compliment. Yeah. And she wears lovely dungarees.
Rocking the dungarees.
I hope she's listening because she pulls off dungarees better than anyone I know.
Dave's after a date, by the sounds of it.
So Dawn is a very talented editor and involved in education, video education. She teaches at Sheffield Hallam in animation, experimental film, editing. So it's a really good set of 4 people.
Yeah. And Dawn's experimental filmmaking techniques are crazy. She'll just go, obviously, why don't you just wrap tinfoil around your lens? It looks crazy. And you'd be like, oh, obviously, Dawn, yeah, why not?
She's like that.
Yeah.
It's just like a crazy creative mother flipper, like really,
That to her is completely normal. Like, why wouldn't you wrap tinfoil around your lens and do that? And, stick your camera on a baking tray and throw it through a washing machine. Why wouldn't you do that? To her, that's completely. I've had conversations with her where you're like, whoa, like that's just okay. Note to self, I'll do that on my next one.
Tinfoil,
when the opportunity comes around, might have to save that for more of a concept piece than a corporate, but it's great. Her knowledge is great, so it's a really cool team of founding members, isn't it?
It is a good group, 4 people. We're funded by Calderdale Council as part of their Year of Culture, Culturedale, and we meet every other month at the Crossley Gallery at Dean Clough in Halifax.
Amazing venue.
It's an art gallery. We meet in there, and the format of the evening is always the same. There's like a guest speaker and a bit of a more formal presentation. Then there's a practical workshop component, which might be colour grading or creative lighting or sound design, something like that. And then we show a film, and it's usually a short film, and the only prerequisite is the makers of that film, so it'd be writer, cinematographer, director, editor, composer, are there for a panel discussion at the end. Right. So that's where the room really comes alive, because in that room are screenwriters, directors, editors, every discipline you could imagine that you need on a film set or in post-production, or pre-production for that matter, are in that room, and they've all got their own little take on the film they've just watched, and it gets dissected. The ethics of the film, how was it funded, how was it distributed, what's next, and people can also crew up, and in that room they can say, right, I've got this job coming up. It'd be awesome to have a sprinkling of this, a handful of that, and a slither of this.
So who's it for? Who can go to this thing?
Anybody.
I think that's the beauty of it, that you might have, there's a guy that comes along occasionally who lives in the north, who is directed a couple of episodes of Doctor Who and Casualty, and then there's a guy that was nominated for an Emmy.
And then
isn't there a guy who works on Harry Potter or something? That's
that's happened as well.
Yeah. You could meet anyone. So in a short coffee break, you could talk to somebody who runs an amazing grassroots organisation in HX1, all the way through to, and what do you do? Oh, I'm the guy who flew the drone on Happy Valley and Gentleman Jack.
Nice, okay.
So you've got it's a real eclectic mix. I think the thing that makes it unique is the openness. There's no cliques. So if you meet somebody who's not in your industry, but you're linked by that creative passion, there's none of that, oh, well, you're not crew. I don't want to know.
There's quite a lot of students rock up.
Students, yeah.
And their lecturers have gone, you need to get yourself to this. You've just graduated, but you don't know anyone. Get along to that and meet some people. So there's a handful of those as well.
So Dave, tell everyone, down the lens, where can they go, when is it, and what time, all that shit.
all that shit.
Fucking hell. Okay, so Dave. Just fuck off.
So Dave.
No, fuck you. No.
I'll do this.
I'll do this. Fuck you. So Dave, tell me. Fucking.
When's the next square Wednesday?
No, fuck you. I'm gonna fucking punch you in a minute. It's my question.
All right, sorry.
So Dave. So Dave. Okay, so Dave, tell me, down the lens, when is it and where is it, so we all know what to do.
You need to get yourself onto Square Lens Alliance, onto the website, sign up for the mailing list, and you'll discover soon, an email will go out, the next Square Lens Alliance at the Crossley Gallery at Dean Clough is on Thursday the 27th of February, and we've got some really interesting guest speakers and a really interesting film to show.
Any, you've heard it here first, or can you not do that for us?
Can we do that?
Come on. Give us one. Can you not give us a nugget? He's giving us a nugget. Can you give us a nugget?
We'll just leave it at that nugget, I think.
Okay, that's the nugget, right? Okay, that's too many nuggets, right? So, Dave. So we've come to the Deryn's there. We're all dying. Right. So, fucking hell. Deryn's being sick, man. Dave's given too many nuggets, Dave.
There's something in the beer at the Boar and Fable. That was a nugget and a half.
So, Dave, we're at this part of the show now where me and Deryn don like our, we go back 20 years and we're like, I want to be in film, but I don't know how to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to propose a project to you and I want to see how you'd manage it, but also we're going to play the client hat as well and add things in that might not really be on the original brief and see how you deal with that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so, hello, my name's George and I own a cheese factory over in Scarborough. Now, the very specific thing about this cheese factory is it doesn't make the cheese, it just punches the holes in it. But the machine is from the 1970s, which is very old in my eyes. Right, tell me how you'd make this heritage film from receiving the brief. The film is about the old machines, punching holes in the cheese, and our daily life of punching holes in cheese making. Yeah, so off you go. This is the brief.
That's all we've got.
You've just been sent that in an email. Don't make me repeat it.
I'd ring Deryn.
Yeah, he would.
I got one of them cheese ones again for you.
Okay, fine.
So, classic brief. On one hand, it could be quite dull and boring, but you secretly know it's probably not. I'd say, look, can I come and see you? I need to see this cheese facility.
I can do a video at Cheese. We're a very busy company, Dave, but yeah, you come and have a look at Cheese if you like.
I'll pop in, I'll see the cheese. Okay. We'll call it a cheese recce. So I'll come with my phone.
Call it a checky.
Yeah, that works, I think. I'll take a few shots with my iPhone, a few video clips, and I'll look at this machine that you've got from the 1970s, see what that looks like. I'll ask about raw product coming in, adding value to that product and spitting out the other end. But then we'll say who buys your cheese, because I think we need to see the end of that story.
So the quality starts at source, right?
Yeah. So it's like stuff coming in, stuff going on. Trevor's been there 50 years, he knows how the machine works, that type of thing.
Okay. I'm going to be the guy from the Scarborough again. Yeah, but I want it to be more about my machine than the cheese. It's about our process, not the whole process.
It's a good Scarborough accent, I like all this.
That's what they do. It's not so much Scarborough as East Coast, that I find. Brid. They do that in Brid as well. I don't
So yeah, I want it more about our process, not the whole process.
It's Gumbo Selector.
Sharon, I can't find my fucking cheese.
The thing is, with filming machines, machines are usually dangerous and they'll rip people's arms off and stuff. So it's always interesting to say, stop your machine and let me have a peek inside. And then you can attach tiny cameras inside, or if you've got a bit that goes backwards and forwards or round and round, you can actually clamp something onto there and see the machine working from the inside. You give it a unique perspective.
What if the client said, no way in hell you're clamping cameras to my machine? I'm guessing you would fall back on your engineering background and go, well, this isn't a component part that would swing or clash with another one, therefore.
That's
sick
where
to do that.
Sometimes you get the ops director on board, and if you can get him excited about the project, going, we can show inside this machine, and then you show him it and you explain how you do it. If they won't really let you inside it, then you go zoom lens from a distance and you see inside.
We've done that before, because normally there's 10 mil of like cloudy 40-year-old perspex stopping you from seeing the process. Yeah. The minute they lift that machine up, it's sirens and alarms, and it just halted production. So how would you get around that?
Just a very small discrete camera, magnetic clamp, usually there's metal inside, its own light source, well out the way. The ops director's there, so no one's nervous. Go, look, this is like 3-inch long, this machine, this camera. Start that again. I don't want to be on record saying this is 3-inch long.
This is
3-inch Hackney.
We don't want that nickname.
Okay.
So get the ops director on board.
So I'm going to put my Jack hat back on. Sorry, right? Okay. Yeah. Not the Scarborough guy. My arms aren't going to do this now. Right. You're from Scarborough. Right. But what I'm saying is, right, so let's do pre-production. You've spoken to the client. You've got the brief. You're saying, look, we can get inside the machine. You've done your recce. You see all this sort of stuff. So this is your pre-production. You go. The film's going to be. What would you say? What we want to do is tell a story. We're going to interview some of the people who work there. Get a bit of the story about the heritage. Then would you like? Then you're going, right. Okay, we're going to like end of pre-production. We're going, right. Okay, we're going to get little GoPros inside so we can see close-ups of the hole being punched in the cheese. So then, would you say that was me summarising what you've just said pretty much? So then, what do you do when you go to like actual production? When do you start bringing people in, or do you know to do yourself, or what would you do next?
I'd think something like that. Drone's always a good one, isn't it? To place it in Scarborough. This is the place, but we want to see a bit of the surrounding countryside to know where we are. That's one thing. Yeah. I'm a great advocate, and people laugh when I say this, time-lapse. If you time-lapse a factory, you can see stuff happening that might not happen in real time, but it's a speed up, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, clamp that somewhere, or drop a camera on a conveyor belt and send it round the factory.
Well, like
a POV. So quite often you get the product, whatever that is,
and you follow,
and you attach the camera to that, whatever that widget is. In this case, it's cheese, which is a little bit more challenging. I did
it's got holes in it.
Just drill it. Put a screw in it.
The 1/4-inch holes, by the way. So
see what you've done there. Yeah. I did it recently for a cottage cheese place.
Are you joking?
Get out of town.
Hypothetical, or
No,
did this happen?
Longley Farm.
Longley, I love Longley Farm. Longley Farm, the yogurt with the hazelnuts in. Sorry.
Exactly
it's
that.
A class T-shirt.
It's the best yogurt, best product you can get.
Longley Farm.
Longley Farm.
Best yogurt.
This camera here that we're actually shooting on is the camera that was on Longley Farm's conveyor belt, going along and
I wonder why it was white.
capturing the
cottage
being added into the cheese.
So
you're bringing the cottage to the cheese, bro.
Bringing the cottage home.
Oh my god.
And I'm just bringing the cheese. So basically, I love all these ideas.
Curveball. All right, Dave. Well, it's great that you love the machines and everything, but did you know we're a 3rd-generation family business and I don't give a shit and it's all about our heritage? What'd you do there?
Show us your shoebox with your granddad in it. Get those pictures.
Pictures. Just a fit. I've got his femur.
What's this shit? Is it all burnt down? No, that's him. You told me to get him out.
There's a femur, there's an eye socket, there's jawbone.
The glass eye, he's not looking at you.
Have you got any Polaroid?
I'll give you £3 for that one, £2 for that one. No, things out there. This is what.
Shoebox for your granddad, innit?
No, I do like that. I get where you're getting that. That's a nice idea.
Let's go heritage.
Are you getting all the articles out and stuff?
Yeah, all the old stuff,
That's cool, man.
Ribbon cuttings, all that kind of thing. Tell the story. Some of them might still be alive. We want to interview them. What's it like to be 3rd generation? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think we've got the creative nail now. I like the creative, Dave. The shoebox idea of my dead granddad is great. Love it, right? Right good, it is, with my wobbly arms. So, Jack hat back on. So how do you go about crewing this then? So you've got your creative, what's the next process?
As a one-man band, I consult my black book and I think I need here with me, I'm going to need someone who understands, someone who can help me rig with time lapse, someone that can, be there as a second camera and possibly drone pilot, something like that. Sometimes I might have a writer on board.
Wow.
So I work with a couple of writers that might do a telephone interview with a couple of people from the family.
But prior to the shoot?
Yep.
Oh, cool, okay.
Which is effectively a shooting script, which becomes a rough mood board, which becomes a rough storyboard.
Wow.
Yeah, the shot list is derived because ultimately, if we know we're using a voiceover up front, which might be an authentic voice of Mr. Scarborough man or one of his many relatives, or it might be a professional voiceover artist because that might not want to do it, but we'd probably source a Scarborough voice for authenticity.
So a scriptwriter, in my opinion, is really rare. Because for me, a scriptwriter, external scriptwriter, that's the domain of a big production. So why is it that you go there first and foremost when you're putting a concept together?
A scriptwriter is a person who is very efficient at distillation. So they'll have a 1 hour Zoom call with someone and they'll just waffle on about loads of stuff. But in their mind, they're extracting the absolute key bits. Right. Quite often though, the scriptwriter will present the first draft back. And occasionally it meets resistance because they've written it to be heard.
Right.
The company boss, he or she is more used to doing PowerPoints for investors and that kind of board reports. And they'll try and drag it back into that domain. And we're going, no.
What do you mean? Like, it's too flowery, there's too much...
Yeah, this is not a board report, it's not a PowerPoint, it's a video. And these words are to go in people's ears and make them understand. And there's often a battle and you have to find a compromise in the middle. And then those words, we look at them and think, okay, Microsoft Word, column A is your words, column B, what's going to go there? Establishing shot of Scarborough coastline, slow motion, seagulls.
Yeah. Do you stick images in there or do you just describe it?
Yeah, it could just be a reference image. You could Google Scarborough, you could use AI to generate an image that's, or one of my recce shots that I've already taken.
Yeah, of course.
They're all walking around like this.
as they do on the East Coast. Yeah. But you don't want to mix it with Brid.
Yeah, sorry,
that's down there.
Yeah.
Scarborough's up here, Brid's down there.
Sorry, Karen, yeah, that's cool, man.
The scriptwriter often gives me a guide read, her voice.
All right, okay.
For pacing.
Nice.
And we'll work out how long shots need to be, how we'll cut them together. When we finish the edit, the first draft edit, then we get the voiceover artist from Scarborough or the guy or woman from Scarborough.
I'll do it then.
You can do it.
But yeah. But okay, so is this like kind of a regular thing though? Would this like be your go-to creative, or would you check? You know, was it all?
It doesn't work for every job, and sometimes we don't want to use a voiceover artist. We want to use Maureen, who sits on the packaging line.
Okay.
And sometimes Maureen will be an absolute legend. And other times
swears like a sailor.
And other times Maureen goes to pieces when you take a lens
like
cap
Pizza
off.
Sue.
Let's not go there.
Pizza Sue. If you watch the last
covered that on episode 1.
Episode 1, Pizza
Watch
Sue.
episode 1 for Pizza Sue.
Legend.
How not to put a pizza on a table using your body parts.
That's really weird because I've listened to episode 1 and I can't remember that anecdote.
Did we edit that?
Was that? No, didn't put Pizza Sue. She back of the net for your customer, and she stood up and went with pepperoni off her. Yeah.
Hands free.
Hands-free pepperoni distribution. Yeah. Yes.
So, Dave, here's one thing I like. So you write your script up front, presumably you get that signed off up front, so then your shot list, it becomes quite narrow. So you've got, all right, I've got 36 shots to get today because my film is 1.5 minutes long. Each shot has its correct place attributed to each line in my script. Is there not a fear that your client's going to then turn around and go, that's great, Dave, but I wanted 138 clips about my car park because I'm going to make a film about this next week? Do you ever get the fear that like shooting to that script so narrowly, okay, it allows you to put a lot of love into every shot because your shot list is strict. You're not going to deviate from that script, but then you've got nothing else spare at the end of it. Is that not a worry to you? Because that might be a little bit of a concern.
I get that, and some shoots that is appropriate to tackle it that way. But increasingly, and especially nowadays, when every client's got thirsty social media channels, they've got a LinkedIn, they've got TikTok, they've got YouTube, they've got Instagram in every bloody format under the sun, different ratios. when someone books you to do a job, you're really probably going to give them a year's worth of content in a sense. You're going to go there to Scarborough, to the cheese factory, you're covering it to death, but you're also ticking off those hero film shots.
Right.
That's your first deliverable, but actually you're giving them collateral to dip into for the following 12 months.
Is that through the form of a secondary shot list, or is that just the isolated clips from your main video?
Yeah, I think snapping out of my idiot head, I can see if I was doing a job like Dave's, for example, and we were doing we've actually got the voiceover, we've got this and that. We're working to a shot list, and this shot list is signed off prior to us going there. So obviously they want that, but for me, it's an opportunity to go, especially a new client. Here's what we've produced, right? We can do this, this, and this. We all need to get these shots, and it's another excuse to go back and spend a day on getting quality shots rather than just running and gunning.
Yeah.
So you've got all your quality shots, because if you do a shit hot film like Dave's about to do, you've got all this cheese punching action, but in really nice shots. You don't want to be like just squirting and that's it. You say look, we've got these really nice shots. If we come back again, we can get ones that match this, and you've got your other film will look just as good.
Nice.
That's the way I'd look at that. But if at the intro, at the start of the whole thing, would have a conversation where it's like, here's a storyboard, but I just want you to go get loads of stuff. So you just basically shoot the whole factory, don't you? Then you make the film. Whereas Dave's doing it the other way around, where he's actually got a film in mind. So
yes,
that's the way I'd look at it.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, it's fair, isn't it, that clients don't actually know what they want. They know they've been told by someone else, usually a web developer who's doing their new website. It's like, we need a new website. All right, what have you got to put on it? Nothing. We've got this stuff from 20 years ago. And then they go, new photos, new staff shots, new copy, new logo, new colorways. We need a video, definitely.
Yeah.
All that kind of thing. And usually, often it's not occurred to the client that they need a video. They've been told they need one, and then sometimes they need it under duress. And so that they don't. It's not clear what they want. Yeah. But you're absolutely right with that. You can, and I'm guilty of that sometimes. That if you go into a place, you get that coverage of everything, knowing that whatever comes up, you can probably produce a video to that effect.
But I see them as two different jobs, and sometimes I'll be like, look, a recent example, I did a furniture company up in Preston, right? Or Bolton, actually, they'll kill me if I said Preston. But basically, they said, look, we want nice shots, but we'll give you 3 days to do it. So what we did, and the idea was, they've got a place in London. These are massive furniture manufacturer. They've got a place in London, but they also, in the entrance, they've got a screen, and they want to show that it's manufactured in England and not all over the world like everyone else does. So we went and we went around the whole factory and shot everything. But I said, look, this is going to take 3 days. He goes, right, we'll give you 3 days, rather than ram it all in one day and here's one storyboard. So we got this massive archive, and now they've come back to me going, right, okay, can you make this film? And I'm going, well, I've spent all the time getting these beautiful shots of people working, doing the stitching. I can make these films now. So that was a nice one, but that was a conversation that I had right at the start with those guys saying, if we do it properly and don't just run and gun, you'll have a beautiful arc, and it worked. But that's not for everyone, is it? Sometimes we go, oh, it's going to cost how much, and they want to back you down. And if those sort of clients, well, you do your run and gun, don't you? So, yeah.
Horses for courses, isn't it?
Exactly.
So back to the cheese thing.
So post-production then, how do you
recap? So
no, you recap the production.
So you've had your shoot, you've got a strict script, you want to show off the kind of engineering technicality of the process and make it look really cool. You've also got the heritage, the history, and the family business narrative piled into that. So you're bringing them two things together. So you've shot this thing as per the plan. How do you manage the post from there?
Yeah, and for me, this is the hardest part. You've done the DIT bit of logging it all. You've got it in folders. You got it by day. You got it by location or camera type. Different cameras, different frame rates, whatever. It's all there. It's filed. Yeah. For me, I find that my brain finds that phase actually quite overwhelming. It's like an MMO game, massive multiplayer online game. There's too many choices. I prefer to be on rails and have more of a structure. That's just the way my brain works.
Why is that?
Really, is what you want to know.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah.
If it's appropriate.
I'm high functioning Asperger's. Right. So I like order and structure. Right. So I know we've smashed it out.
This must be hell for you, Dave. I'm so sorry. You should have told us that before we started. Bloody hell.
I feel so irresponsible.
To the bastards.
I know we've smashed it out the park on the shoot.
Yeah.
I know it's in there. That is multiple terabytes of absolutely sweet footage. High frame rate, standard frame rate, drone, time lapse, the whole works. It's in there. That is the recipe for the cake. But at this point, I don't know what ratio to use. At that point, I love to hand it over to a assistant editor who maybe wasn't on the shoot, who dispassionately goes through it and go, that's nice, love that.
Yeah, not attached to it.
And they'll do what we would call a string out edit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that first assembly. There's no finesse, there's no grading, there's no colour mix, there's no ramping up and down. It's just a sequence of shots. And then I look at that and think, ooh, I could see where this could go. Nice. But to get to that stage myself often takes a long time, and that's why I like to collaborate with other people.
But do you find on this cheese example that obviously you've got a storyboard? You'd find that easy because you've basically got a map, haven't you?
It's worth clarifying that.
Yeah.
If we actually have a definitive shot list and storyboard with timings and music and words, yeah, you're absolutely right. We know exactly what that was. And I did one recently for Bargain Booze. It was like a Christmas advert, and it was all approved, all agreed to the second. And that's easy because I need some of that, and some of that. We know where that goes. Yeah. But these other films where it's a little bit more freeform, you've shot it to death. You need to get something out of it at the other end, which we would call the hero film, which might be the 2-minuter that goes to a trade show, or they show someone in a pitch dock, or it's above the fold on their new website, and it loops mute, no sound, no music. It's a collage of beautiful images. I find that bit quite hard to pull things together to see the wood for the trees.
I tell you what's funny though, when I first started out, I even felt that, you know, we're not having high whatever Asperger's that you've got, just you know, but like
King.
That's it. Sorry, the King Asperger over here.
I've got a teacher that says Asperger King.
Have you?
Yeah.
Nice, I like it. Yeah. Asperger's. Get you. Right.
No. You put the emphasis on the wrong letter there.
Asperger's. Burgers, yeah, okay, Asperger's. Right, but what I'm saying is, where was I at? So when I first started out, I really found it hard to, like, you know, get the. I'd be like, oh, like you, just what do I use? But then I got to the point where I was like, you know what, just fuck it and just throw whatever in. And that's kind of what happened. Like, and that's how I got so quick at editing. Sometimes just playing, that works. And I guess as you progress as well, talking to people who are just starting out, that you kind of shoot for an edit, don't you? Sometimes I always find that. Yeah. And when I find somebody who doesn't edit and they shoot, the clips aren't long enough sometimes, or there's always a. You know, they never held the shot that you're like, oh, that is perfect. Oh, it's 2 seconds, I can't use it anyway.
Or they've not thought of a 3-shot sequence.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's 3 shots is like, I'd say 3 shots is your key, isn't it? At least like face, wide, mid, or whatever, and hands. Like most, like you know, at least that you want to make a sequence, and it's got to be at least 5 seconds long. But yeah, so that, I had the same thing as you, you know. Be a different thing, but I used to always like, there's too much here, I don't know what to do.
It's the pressure, it's like a mountain, and you need to take it in baby steps, don't you?
For me, that's the benefit of working with a filmmaker. So as a small studio owner, I'm probably shooting myself in the foot by saying this, but if the person who shoots it is the person who delivers that project, you'll get an entirely different set of footage than you would if it was just a freelance shooter, a freelance editor, and a producer that delivers it. If you've got the throughput of the same kind of brain on the job from start to finish, it's shot for the edit, it's edited for the delivery, and that links back to your initial conversation, and your client's delighted.
Totally find that sometimes you get a whole different edit out of it, and I quite like that. Because you like, I might shoot something right, if the idea of the edit in my head, someone else has got this and gone, actually do it, and they've not seen this much, and they've told a totally different story to what I have, and better sometimes, because I'm not hung up on the best. You get so hung up on.
You're too close to it.
That's the best shot. That's got to go in there. Yeah. And the best shot you shot all day sometimes don't even belong in the edit.
No. I've done that where I've gone like, it's a really good edit, but if you check card B on day 2, 11:45, I got a shot of somebody walking through this door, and the sunlight just ping. There's a lens flare that fills the room, and why it's not that? Why did you put that in there? And there might not be a use case for it. But
You're
it's because
emotionally
it made you
attached
feel
to
something
it.
when you shot it. And you're like, why is that not in there? And it takes a while to detach yourself from that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I've done this. I used to be a member of an amateur filmmaking group. You know, just like a group of people that got together and did something. We did this exercise. Everyone was given the same footage, the same rushes, and then the following week you're encouraged to come back and show a 2-minute cut. And obviously, no two were the same.
Yeah.
Some were similar, but some were like, I don't even understand how that edit has been constructed from that footage.
Yes.
And that's,
I like that.
when
That's
you
cool.
said it, it's actually quite refreshing sometimes to hand it over to someone who is dispassionate and they approach it in an entirely new way that you never even thought.
And sometimes that dispassion or disconnect is actually works out for the
It's
best.
helpful, yeah, 100%.
Cool. So this, I think we should get another half, and I've got one last thing that we like to do at the end of every show, being that it's only our second show, but I've got something cool to show you, and this is just Dave's film review of what we're about to watch. Now, should we go for a beer?
Another half.
Another half?
Old Gran Hardy was saying that her old dad hasn't drunk his Mackerson for years. I said, but he has one every night. She says, but he don't drink it, he chews it. He's that partial to the taste. That looks good, tastes good, and it certainly does you good.
Nice.
So, before we watch and get Dave's review of the beautiful film I'm about to show him, Deryn, what was your favourite beer that you tried today?
It was that one.
What was it called again?
French martini.
French martini.
It was the French martini from Vocation Brewing in Hebden Bridge. Unreal. These are big halves, by the way, Jack. What happened there?
Little hands.
Yeah.
Oh, big hands, sorry. No, big hands. Anyway.
I'd like to go on record. I'd like to go on record and say this is one of the nicest beers I've ever had.
I thought you were going to say this is one of the nicest podcast experiences, some of the best company.
He's like,
No.
fuck it, I can't wait to get
I'm just here for the beer, checking his watch. Checking his watch.
Well, I've got to say this was shit up, but I only tried a few.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Merry
Right.
Christmas.
Dave,
Happy
I'm
New
about
Year.
to show you something that you've probably seen before, being a man of very distinguished
Taste.
and I imagine you've seen a lot of international films.
What's the finest international film you've watched? Is it Bush Tucker 2?
Feston.
Feston, right, tell us a bit about that, because in contrast to what we're about to show you.
Do you know the Dogme 95 avant-garde film movement?
I don't know, mate, no. But
This could be a podcast in itself. But
I would encourage anybody who doesn't know of Dogme 95 to look it up on Wikipedia and look at the very specific and exacting rules that every film must adhere to be considered Dogme 95 as a film movement. And the first film is called Feston, which is Danish for the festival or the party, depending on the translation.
Okay.
And it is a truly excellent Danish film with English subtitles. Very good.
Right, so before we show you this film, Dave, could you just talk us through the criteria? So what makes a fine international film fit into that category? Because there must be some points you need to hit along the way.
I wouldn't say, you couldn't say it's an international film, could you? Just say there's good films and there's bad films.
Yeah, sorry.
If you was to say, on one hand you've got, I'm not saying international, but anything that Stanley Kubrick has touched is a good film.
okay, yeah.
And I would go on record as saying that French Martini is the best beer I've ever tasted, and Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon is the best film I've ever seen in my entire life.
Never seen.
Well, that's about to change, Dave.
You might have heard of Barry Lyndon. Have you heard of Who Killed Captain Alex?
No.
It's a favourite of mine.
Okay,
Jack.
so did you know basically Nollywood is probably the biggest film industry in the world.
booming,
isn't it?
it's booming.
But I'm not even kidding. It is the biggest film industry in the world, even
Nollywood.
bigger than Bollywood.
Have you heard of Nollywood, bro?
Nollywood. It's
Nollywood.
Nollywood.
Nigeria.
This is a Nigerian beautiful masterpiece. This is part one. If you want some more, we can have some more after this.
This is 3 minutes and 58.
Play it all
Yeah.
well. It's the best highlights, man.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So bear that in mind. What tell us about the 95?
Dogme 95.
So in terms of, could you help me and Jack kind of grade this in terms of the Dogme 95 filmmaking philosophy? So what have we got here? Visual effects.
Yeah.
Action.
Action.
There's a bit of script. I don't know what your scriptwriter would make of it. There's some script.
Yeah, I just think, Dave, give us your review, man. Like, as you've had you work right for Total Film or whatever.
In real time or after we watched it?
Both.
Both, mate. Why not?
Just treat yourself.
Okay.
It's a feast for the eyes.
That's a nice opening title sequence. I don't know if that's their voice, that's the channel.
That's the best bit.
Here we go. 4x3. Curious framing, losing the top of the head.
What the fuck?
Ah, interesting. That's reminiscent of Terminator 2. That's virtual production, isn't it?
Yes.
It's kicking right off.
Indiscriminately destroying shit. Oh my god.
It looks so real, doesn't it?
What was that? Chopper, chopper, where are you?
Man, the man is killing us, man.
Press the bomb.
Drop the bomb, man.
It's got a normal telephone in an AH-64 Apache.
Wait for you to go upstairs and press a few buttons to get the rocket launcher out. Commando!
Mafia.
Blood spatter. Leave no man behind.
I'm innocent. You're all dead.
Oh, real threats, man.
I'm killing all. In sequel.
Mafia.
Let me change to. I'm a commander. Is it?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm a man of Zipu. Will you marry me? I prefer men.
Oh god.
Do you think that was a practical effect or VFX?
Who knows? The lines are blurred. The lines are blurred. Look at the
Now
chopper.
we're gonna see.
I don't think I've watched this far before. Dave's like, can I go home now?
The commando. The military commander. He fights drugs. And uses drugs.
Both fights and uses drugs.
But that is a favourite of mine and Jack's.
Top 40?
I'm not sure if it's the same scriptwriter I use.
Mafia! Mafia! Ooh, I love that film.
Oh my god, I've watched the whole thing.
Commando! Commando!
Tiger Mafia!
Tiger Mafia!
I'm a little bit nervous now about showing you Bush-tastic adventures because although it's good, I don't know if it can achieve that level of greatness.
Well, it's... Deryn, between me and you, is it as good as Indian Chase Scene?
Indian shit, yeah.
Best scene,
Yeah.
best thing ever.
It's up there with The Godfather, Gladiator 1.
You put Indian
well
chase
there.
scenes up there, mate. Fucking
Yeah,
what a
Indian
film.
chase scenes. So watch episode 1 for a bit more on that.
Yeah, Indian chase scene.
So I particularly like the voiceover in Who Killed Captain Alex. Would you like to know why that is how it is?
I would.
So,
Is it you?
No, it's not me. No. They turned me down. I was gutted. I wanted the part. Yeah.
I wanted more of an authentic scar.
Tiger Mafia.
Tiger Mafia! Tiger Mafia!
So in Nigeria, a lot of these films are distributed on VCD still to this day.
Video CD.
Yeah. VHS, you got marketed by VHS as well.
So a film like that probably spans 2 discs.
Right.
And they're distributed kind of, somebody rocks up to town and goes, I've got the new movie, would you like to see it? Now a lot of them, because different languages are spoken, are all around the place. A lot of them are showed in kind of film halls, what we would call a cinema, basic projector. And what they would do is they would get, I can't remember the name for this person, but they would get somebody with a mic to commentate in the language most prevalently used in that region. Yeah.
Like a real-time
So
narration.
what you're listening to there is actually the ad-libs of the person who is listening and also narrating in English. So when there's random bits like Tiger Mafia thrown in there, that might be something that is picked from the script just to keep the audience kind of following what's going on. So given that extra layer of uniqueness.
So Be Kind Rewind. I'd fucking love that shit. If I could make a film like that, I'd be well happy. Like
Creatively fulfilled.
just like how it's just my silly sort of like, obviously they're really trying with the ad, but they're making it on these computers from like Windows 95 and shit. Like just that to me is just comedy, man. Like, but cool, you know what I mean?
There's behind the scenes where they've draped a green screen, a green cloth over the side of an outhouse, and there's somebody dangling off a rope who they've CG'd onto a helicopter, and it's done using daylight. It's done on probably DV tape. It's done on a 20-year-old PC.
It's shot in a week as well.
It's shot in a week. But do you know? You said you'd love to make that film. Well, somebody in America had that exact same idea. So do you know when he said, "I'll see you in the sequel" or whatever? Yeah. A fella from America, from New York, sold his apartment, moved to that exact village, and made Who Killed Captain Alex 2, the sequel. True story.
That'll be next month.
Yeah. Let's do it next time.
Cool. Well,
But Dave, we didn't ask you. We never actually asked you. We just talked about it. What do you think to Who Killed Captain Alex? Those are the highlights.
I mean, that's 3 minutes and 58 of pure gold. I don't know how long the full runtime is and whether that's a diluted experience.
so I think it's 90 minutes. Yeah.
90 minutes,
Yeah.
the standard feature.
Yeah.
And I'd like to watch. That's whet my appetite, very much like the French martini.
Yeah.
You know, I just had a sip of Jack's and then went for a full pint. I feel the same about Captain Alex, if I'm honest.
Very good.
Yeah, great. How would you rate it out of 10? Better than Alien 1?
I quite like Alien 1. Better than Alien 3. I'll go that far. One thing I would say, just bringing it all round full circle, there's no substitute, is there, for just getting out there and shooting it?
No. 100%, yeah. Good
If
shout.
there was one takeaway from the entire podcast, get out there and shoot it. And I think Captain Alex and the makers thereof, the living embodiment of that.
And just one more thing, one last thing. I'm after a takeaway after this, boys. So let's mixed on a look at your face. Stop pretending to be healthy because your wife watches this. Me and you are off for kebab now. Dave, it's been a fucking pleasure, mate. Thank you so much.
Right, it's been a pleasure. Let's do it. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. See you
Darren's
guys.
like,
See you later. Bye.
See you later.
I'm confused. Am I invited or not?
Yeah, why not?